Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sri Ganga Prasad PRABHU Jai. Glories to great Bhagavad Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam. How are
Yeah,
you?
thank you for being here. Yeah, so we may put the rest on the screen and then you will begin.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhupada, you may begin. Sorry.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to everybody present. My pleasure to be here, and I welcome all of you on behalf of the Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada, who starts by invocation mantra, then we'll continue. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnana Salakaya Chakshuro Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Radhanath Swami Iti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nite Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Pasatya Desatarine Sri Chaitanya Nanobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Tavadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Jivisha Kambitam Sya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanambayo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanyan Prabhu Nityananda Syadvaita Gadada Divasadi Gora Bhaktavindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We'll be reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 13, text number 55. Chapter is titled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narautamam Devin Sarasatim Vyasa Tachodaya Mudirayet Nasta Priya Swabradesu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Nastikihi. Hare Krishna. So the text of today, the Sanskrit text will recite, and then the translation and purport. The text in Sanskrit goes like this. Vignatmani samyogya chitragne pravilapyatam Ramanyatmanam adare gatambaram ivambare. Sade Prabhu, the screen is little blurred. The impressions are not clear. You can adjust that, although I have an alternative, but in case of others who are using the screen. Vignatmani samyogya shetragne pravilapyatam Ramanyatmanam adare gatambaram ivambare. Vignatmani samyogya kshetragne pravilapyatam Ramanyatmanam adare gatambaram ivambare. Word for word transliteration. Vijnana, purified identity. Atmani, in intelligence. Samyogya, perfectly fixing. Kshetrajne, in the matter of the living being. Pravilapya, merging. Tam, him. Brahmani, in the supreme. Atmanam, pure living being. Adare, in the reservoir. Gata ambaram, sky within the block. Iva, like. Ambare, in the supreme sky. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Jaga Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Ho. Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence and then merge into the Supreme Being with knowledge of his qualitative oneness. As a living entity with the Supreme Brahman, being free from the blocked sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual sky. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The living being, by his design to lord it over material world and declining to cooperate with the Supreme Lord, contacts the sum total of material world, namely the Mahatattva. And from the Mahatattva, his false identity with the material world, intelligence, mind, and senses is developed. This covers his pure spiritual identity by the yogic process. When his pure identity is realized in self-realization, one has to revert to the original position by amalgamating the 5 gross elements and the subtle elements, mind and intelligence, into the Mahatattva, thus getting free from the clutches of Mahatattva he has to merge in the existence of the super soul. In other words, he has to realize that qualitatively he is not different from the super soul, and thus he transcends the material sky by his pure identical intelligence, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is the highest perfectional development of spiritual identity, which is attained by the Dhritarashtra, by the grace of Vidura and the Lord. The Lord's mercy was bestowed upon him by his personal contact with Vidura. And when he was actually practicing the instructions of Vidura, the Lord helped him to attain the highest perfectional stage. A pure devotee of the Lord does not live on any planet or of the spiritual sky, nor does he feel any contact with material elements. His so-called material body does not exist, being surcharged with the spiritual current of the Lord's identical interest, and thus is permanently free from all contamination of the sum total of the Mahatattva. Is always in the spiritual sky, which he attains by being transcendental to the sevenfold material covenants by the effect of his devotional service. The conditioned souls are within the coverings, whereas the liberated souls is far beyond the covering. Bukankaroti vachalam. Bangam langayate girim. Yakripatva mahavande. Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Yakripatva mahavande. Paramananda Madhava. Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. I'd like to formally welcome everybody once again and appreciate that it is actually unprecedented mercy that have been accorded to me, and I beg for blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas that I may be able to diligently execute this service in the spirit of purifying myself and also making whatever I present to be of benefit for the audience. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. The text we are reading today is actually very relevant in terms of living in the material world. It is relevant to the extent that it's like the therapy for actually getting out of the entanglement of material existence. And the Dhritarashtra here is used like a role model, the model. Vidura also a model to be able to put us in line as to how this is done and how it is achieved and what could be achieved. So this segment of the chapter, text 51 to 60, mentions how Narad reveals the future movement of the Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Vidura. The interaction has been going on, but in this next text, 10 texts, 51 to 60, Narad Muni is mentioning to Yudhishthira what is the future movement and activities of Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Vidura. And the text we are reading specifically, like a combo text, midway of the 10, 55 and 56 mention what result the Dhritarashtra will achieve. And so, from the content of what we have read in the text, it makes clear that there are certain activities that Yudhishthira has to perform, and those activities will be able to give a particular result. And the result is that he will be able to rise to the spiritual sky, which is same as what Krishna said, going back home, back to Godhead, or one who comes to his abode, he never comes back to this material world. So he's going to go back to the spiritual sky. Which area and which aspect of spiritual sky is not clearly mentioned, but he will leave this material world. And this is the process everybody is supposed to go through. No exemption. Although we may not all achieve the same level of success or result, and some will achieve higher results than what the transfer is getting here, because Vidura specifically mentioned that he could not give him something higher because of the level of atrocities and the type of life he lived. But at least he got something. So in this step, we will see first, analyze the Mahatattva. Mahatattva is mentioned in the second canto, text 32 to 35, where it says, is the assembly of 23 elements. And without these 23 elements, the bodily forms cannot take place. 23 elements. And it's mentioned that in the 23 elements, 5 is Tam Mantra. 5 is the gross element, air, water, fire, earth, ether. And then Ahankara, ego. And then 11 senses, working senses, knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind. These are the 23 elements. But then Mahatattva is presented as an evolution of Pradhan. Pradhan is inactive, can't do anything. But when the Gabudaka Vishnu, or no, Karanadaka Vishnu interacts with it, then he said that it becomes assembled by the Lord's compacting energy. That word is very important, compacting. Compacting is like compressing, and when there's compression, there will be oppression, there will be suppression, and the on and on and on. So you find out that the real design of the material world is not to give you any ease of life. Compact, compress, suppress, oppress. So who can afford to be happy here? But in our illusion, we think, oh, all of this is for us to be happy. Although in the purport of text 3, chapter 3, text 10, Prabhupada specifically mentioned something very, very striking. Prabhupada said that this material the material creation by the Lord of creation, Vishnu, is a chance. Very strikingly, it is noted. It's a chance. It didn't say it's just an offer that will fulfill all this. It's a chance. Means if you don't take advantage of it, like you say, right and privilege. It's not a right, it's a privilege. Right you will always enjoy, but privilege can be withdrawn anytime. They say it's a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to God. It's an offer. But it is not everybody that will take advantage of this offer. And so what happens? We will not all achieve the same result of either emancipation or going back home, back to God. But this facility is created because this place is not originally our condominium. We chanced here because of desire. We desire to lord it over material nature, and so this facility was put in place. So he said, the cohesive energy of the Lord is what works here, that creates the Mahatattva, and then different facilities, including the planetary systems and all of this, and the super soul form of the Lord for the Mahatattva, super soul for each universe, and super soul for all living entities. Karanadaka Shai Vishnu is super soul for the general totality of the elements. Gabodaka Shai Vishnu is super soul in every universe. And the Paramatma is super soul for every living entity, every species that has been created. So he said that the Lord entrance, thus all the universes remain for 1,000 years floating on the causal ocean, and the Lord Mahavishnu entering in each of them as Gabodakashai Vishnu assumed the Virat Rupa with thousands of legs, arms, mouth, heads. These are progressions after the Mahatattva has become functional. Then the Mahatattva is said to be differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the world of the would-be entities. Reservoir, that is housing of the would-be entities. The Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of goodness, and it generates the false ego. It is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fruition. Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transformed into false ego, which is manifest in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So you can deduce from this, actually, that by embodiment, we are boxed in the cohesive energy of the Lord. We are boxed into a state of helplessness. But then, in our helpless situation, there are two thought patterns. He says, Prakriti Kriyamana Guna Kamani Savasaha Ahankara Vimudatma Kataham Itimanyate. That the spirit soul bewildered. This is what Mahatattva does. The spirit soul is not in any way bewildered originally in its true identity, is eternal, all-knowing, and blissful. But once it comes in contact with material nature, it becomes bewildered. So Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita 3:27, the spirit soul bewildered by the influence of the false ego thinks himself the doer of activities. It thinks himself the doer of activity. That's like said that the demon thing, Ishwaro Ham, Aham Bobi, Sido Ham, Balaban Supi. It's the demoniac trait. Ishwara, I'm the controller. I am perfect. I'm the enjoyer. No one is greater than me. We think like that, but that is in bewildered situation because of contact with the Mahatattva. And it says further that activities are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So the whole variety of what we get in material nature is a permutation of the interactions of the two modes of material nature. And so different types of body are formed, different types of circumstances are created, different planetary systems are there, higher, intermediate, and lower, just to facilitate the conditional living entity, as Prabhupada said in that purpose. And so it behooves each and every one of us who has come into material contact to tread the path of self-realization. And you can see in the purport, Prabhupada was mentioning that this covers his spiritual identity. By yogic process, when his pure identity is realized in self-realization, this is the assignment of life. The real identity realized in self-realization. This is why Sambandha Gyan is of great relevance to everybody. You must know yourself, you must know the universe, you must know God, and you know the interaction between all of this and the ultimate result that should accrue. It is only when this knowledge is there that one can now revert to his original position by amalgamating the five gross elements, which is air, water, what composes the body, the physical body. You amalgamate it. And the amalgamation takes different processes. Dhritarashtra is being supervised by Vidura to trail a particular path, which is Astanga Yoga here. But the same amalgamation can be done by full engagement and absorption in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Krishna consciousness under the guidance and tutelage of the spiritual master. So these are one of the lessons to learn from this very episode. Actually, it can be theatrical. These are characters. This is a script. And then it can be acted. This can be dramatized if we want to. In learning process, you can present a drama or play of this very scenario. And then you see that to be comprehended more deeply. So this can be achieved through Astanga Yoga, which is the least option that Vidura is offering here. But there are higher option, which is to engage fully in devotional service with all the body, mind, and senses. That is another way of amalgamating the 5 elements. Amalgamating the first elements and the subtle element, mind and intelligence. You amalgamate them. What does it mean? Devotely. That is Nibbanda, Krishna Sambande, Yukta Vairagya Uchate. Using everything for the pleasure of Krishna. That's actually the platform of sannyasi, body, word, and mind, all for the service and pleasure of the Supreme Personality of God. This is says further, thus getting free from the clutches of the Mahatattva. Look at that word. I used in the beginning, I said cohesive energy means compacting energy of the Lord. Okay? And I extended compacting to be compressing, oppressing, suppressing. And when we are able to devote ourselves like this, we free ourselves from this adverse situation. So he said, when he becomes free, gets free from the clutches. Clutches means helplessly tied. Clutches of the Mahatattva. It has to merge in the existence of the super soul. The super soul is also externally manifested as the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the external manifestation of the guru. So absorbing ourselves in words, in thought, in mind to please Guru and Krishna is a way of amalgamation that will free us from the clutches of materiality. Otherwise, when Krishna said, Devi hiya saguna mai, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mameva ye prapadyante, Mayam etan tarantite. That's this divine energy of mind, consider of 3 modes of material nature, is very, very difficult to overcome. Devi hiya saguna mai, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mameva ye prapadyante, Mayam etan tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consider of 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond them. This is the therapy. Those who have surrendered. And what does surrender mean? We cannot surrender just like that to Krishna. We have to surrender to Krishna through Krishna's bona fide representative, who is the Guru. And you can see this in the example of what the Dhritarashtra is doing here. The Dhritarashtra is elder by age calculation to Vidura. But after the tutelage by Vidura, the Dhritarashtra submitted himself to every aspect of the instruction of Vidura. That's what he said in that 434. Tat vidi, pranipatena, sevaya, padeshanti te jnana, jnanina tatva dashi. He has seen the truth. He will impart the truth unto you. He said, if you want to learn the truth, approach a bona fide spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession from Krishna. Inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. See, submissive inquiry and service attitude, which is born out of humility. He will reveal the truth to us. It is the truth that has been revealed here also to the Dhritarashtra. And we are going to see, like I said in the next ongoing and the preceding 5 texts, ongoing 5, and the next 5, what result he gets by doing that? By submitting himself to Vidura's will, automatically he was able to liberate or free himself from the entanglement that has been created because of his association with the Mahatattva and the body he got. This is not his first lifetime, but then his previous life had a lot of cumulative experiences. But in this lifetime, by the mercy of Guru, he's breaking this vicious circle. That's why he said that by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, Yasya Prasada, Bhagavad Prasado, Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutopi. When Guru and Krishna is pleased, we can make advancement. Okay, so he gets freed from the clutches and emerges in the existence of the super soul. Emergence in the existence of the super soul can be Paramatma realization, and it can also be complete submission to the service of Krishna through the guidance and tutelage of the spiritual master. In other words, Prabhupada said he has to realize that quantitatively is not different from the super soul. And thus, it transcends material sky by its pure identity. Means we have to realize our original identity, which is what Mahaprabhu said when he was asked by Sanatan Goswami, and he told him, Jivera Swarup, Ahoy, Krishna Nityada. We are all eternal servants of Krishna. Eternal servants of Krishna. But when we don't want to submit to Krishna's authority, we want to act independently, we decline to cooperate. That is the word of Prabhupada. I like that statement a lot. Cooperate. This world was created specifically for cooperation. So if you go to the same chapter 3, text 11, it says, therefore, with cooperation, the demigods being in charge, the demigod being pleased by sacrifice will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Cooperation. So here is actually a reformatory. It's a reformatory. Material world is a prison house for reformation. It's not a place for torture or wickedness, but you have to be reformed. And what is the reform? What is the result that is either? You become cooperative. And to cooperate, you have to prostrate. If you don't prostrate, it is not a symptom that you are cooperating. And once you don't cooperate, then God cannot operate. The plans of God will not unfold. So when we cooperate, then automatically we become free. So that cooperation is required with understanding. Understanding first our constitutional position, utilizing our intelligence, mind, and body to be able to use whatever facilities around us in the service of the Supreme Personality of God. This way we can transcend the material sky. We can transcend the material sky. And transcending the material sky by this application, we'll go back to our original nature. Original nature means we achieve our original spiritual identity or spiritual body called Swarup Siddhi. Swarup Siddhi, our original spiritual body, which is useful or required for us to continue eternally to engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of God. Here, Prabhupada said, this is the highest perfectional development of spiritual identity. Highest perfectional development of spiritual identity. And the Dhritarashtra is achieving this. How? We have said earlier, without the spiritual master, it's not possible. Said, Dhritarashtra is achieving this by the grace of Vidura and the Lord. The grace of Vidura and the Lord. So it's not by his power, it's not by his strength, it's just by submitting himself to the required institution and then willing to execute whatever guidance is given, and then he achieves that. He said the Lord's mercy was bestowed upon him by the personal contact with Vidura. He said, how does the Supreme Personality of God help the conditioned living entity? The Supreme Personality of Godhead helps the conditioned living entities to get free from the clutches of material existence in these three different ways. First, he manifests as the super soul. And in 15:15, he said, Savasya Chaham, Ridi Sani Visto, Mata Smriti Jnana Punahamcha. I'm seated in everyone's heart. And from there, I give knowledge of remembrance and forgetfulness. So he manifests first as the super soul. Because not everybody can comprehend the communication of the super soul. He still comes further to manifest as the scriptures, Shastra. Because also the Shastras cannot be easily comprehended by our intellectual capacity, he sends an external guide. The super soul now comes externally as the guru. So super soul, Shastra, and guru, these are the mediums through which the Supreme Personality of Godhead help the conditioned living entity. And we are seeing that here, where Prabhupada said that the Lord's mercy was bestowed upon him by the personal contact with Vidura. And when he was actually practicing the instruction of Vidura, the Lord helped him to attain the highest perfectional state. That's what Krishna said in Bhagavad-Gita 10:11. He said, just to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in the heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge darkness born of ignorance. It's promise of Krishna. That is the heart of Gita, that God will help. That is why when we surrender and we are convinced, then we will have strong faith in the third principles of surrender, that in every circumstance, Krishna will protect you. Krishna will provide for you. Krishna will guide you. It's a state of faith. And it is in faith to faith that the righteousness of God will be revealed, not otherwise. Convincingly accepting that God will do his own bit. And we are seeing it practical here, that it says the Lord came in because the Dhritarashtra was actually practicing, not assuming, practical application. He was practicing the instruction of Vidura. This is a very good example for those who want to make speedy progress in spiritual life. The practice has to be real, sincerely, and steadily. Sincerely and steadily applying the instructions of the spiritual master. Even if we are not confident that the spiritual master will be able to meet up his own end of the bargain, he says here, the Lord will help so that we can attain the highest perfectional state. It's a promise. So if we are convinced about this, then there is no reason why we should not endeavor with all determination, with all the air of life that is remaining with us. So we can see that this very text is very, very closely knitted with the 17th mantra of the Upanishad, where he said, Vayu anilam amritam atedam basmatam sariram om kratum smara kratam smara kratum smara kritam smaram. This is a prayer that is offered for one who is in the same situation as the Dhritarashtra. Let this temporary body be burned to ashes. Because that is the challenge. Our body is the main problem we have. That's why Prabhupada calls it skin disease. Let this temporary body be burned to ashes. And let the air of life be merged with the totality of it. That is amalgamation. Now, oh my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices. And because you are the ultimate beneficiary, Bhuktaram Yagyata Pasam, Suridam Sava Bhutanam, the supreme well-wisher of all living entities, please remember all that I have done for you. So this is the attitude and consciousness of one who actually wants to get out of the clutches of this material life. And it is only when we have come to this level that we'll be able to, in the end, remember Krishna. When he says, Yang Yang Vapis Param Bhavam, Tajantante Kale Baram, Tam Tam Eva Tit Conte Ya, Sadatat Bhava Bhavita. That is Bhagavad-Gita 8:6. Whatever state of being one remember when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Thus the mind carries the living entity's propensity into the next life. So if our propensity and mindset is to get into another dimension of experience at the time of death, obviously, if we have acted under the tutelage and guidance of Guru and Krishna, automatically that will be achieved. Krishna says here, Prabhupada is explaining the purport. The Lord's mercy was bestowed upon him by personal contact with Vidura. And when he was actually practicing instruction of Vidura, he don't help him to attain the highest. So even when we are living, if we have applied ourselves to this extent, you find out that though we are in the material body, but we are actually already liberated because we will not be experiencing or having the interference of the material or interference of the Mahatattva. We live here as if we're already in the spiritual world, and when we leave this place, we'll go back to the spiritual world. So the last paragraph of us saying, a devotee of the Lord does not live on any planet of the material sky. Because in chapter 2, Krishna, Trigunya Visaya Veda, Nisai Gunya Babajuna, become transcendental, rise above the most, become transcendental. And how do we do that? Being free from the influence of the modes of material nature. He said, for those who surrender, Mamevaye Prapadiante, Maya Etamtaranti. Once you surrender in devotion in Krishna consciousness, automatically, you are not here again. You have your body is already devoted in service of God, so you are already spiritualized. And automatically, you are sure at the end of this body to go back to the spiritual world because he is surcharged with the spiritual currents of the Lord. These are the words of Prabhupada. A pure devotee of the Lord does not live on any planet of the material sky, nor does he feel any contact with material elements. His so-called material body does not exist. Being surcharged with the spiritual currents of the Lord's identical interests. Look at that. Because he's cooperating. He's cooperating, and thus his temporal is, and thus he is permanently free from the contamination of the sum total of the Mahatma. You become free. So I said earlier that this is like therapeutic, it's a therapy, but then we have to be able to apply it. Then we'll be able to benefit from it. Drasta is benefiting, as we are reading. He's always in the spiritual sky, which he attains by being transcendental to the sevenfold material coverings by effect of his devotional service. So devotional service should give up. So instead of us brooding and complaining and grumbling while we are doing devotional service, we should stop for a while and think. That's what Yudhishthira was asked. What is the most amazing thing in life? The Yaksha asked him, and he said the most amazing thing in life is that we don't stop to think. If we stop to think, then we'll know. What did he say? We don't stop to think. Stop to think about the circumstance we are living in, and ultimately death will come. And every day people are dying around us. but we never think we could be the next candidate. We never stop to think. So in course of our execution of devotional service, many of us have come to a log jam or a crossroad where we are thinking there are so many problems that are caused by so many factors, and so it is impeding the level of performance or attainment that we could achieve. But the reality is we should pause, we should think and see where is the problem lying. You know, he said those who are intelligent, they don't play blame game. It is only less intelligent people that play blame game. And if you see the emblem of blame game is represented like this. One finger out pointing, three fingers cocked in, pointing at you, and one non-cooperating finger. That is the emblem of blame game. So anytime we are pointing fingers of blame, three fingers is directly indicting us. You are the cause. You are the cause. You are the cause. So from this text we are reading now, we can deduce you don't need to blame anything external because the arrangement of the material world has made in such a way that it compacts, compress, oppress, suppress. So whatever you are feeling falls in this category. And the solution is you will now become more serious in cooperating. What he said here, one very fine word. He says here, is such out with spiritual current of the Lord, internal, is such out with the spiritual current of the Lord's identical interests. Identical interests. When we are complaining means our interests are different. It's not identical with that of the Lord. Because the attitude of Ambarish Maharaj, even though he had to contend with Dhruva Samuni, his approach was, Marabi, Rakabi, kill me or protect me. It doesn't matter. My only business is to align to you. They will serve you. To serve God. So align identical interest with the Lord, and thus he is permanently freed from all contaminations of the sum total of the Mahatattva. If we are not disaligned, definitely, we always have a reason to complain. But there's no time for complaining. I wish many of us had the experience of near-death experience, or some form of closeness to death. Then we realize how much time we are wasting frivolously for not doing the right things. Rather, we are busy seeing why it should not be done. But there's no excuse. It has to be done because this is why we have been given this human form of life. It has to be done, but it requires approaching submissive inquiry, rendering of service. Then the truth is revealed. The truth is hidden because we are acting according to our own whims and caprices. We're on our own. But the moment we give up our whims and caprices and submit ourselves, automatically we'll be free. So this is what is required. That is the example that we are learning from the interaction of Dhritarashtra, Yudhishthira, Narad Muni, Vidura, Gandhari. All of this is submission. Submit yourself. And that is why the last instruction Krishna gave in Bhagavad-Gita, 1866, Sava Dhamma Parityaja Mamekam Saranam Vraja Aham Tvam Sava Papebhyo Mokshami Shayimas. Abandon all variety of religion. Interpolation, misinterpretation, speculation. Abandon all of this. Just surrender. And when you are surrendered, what will happen? Your mind always engaged in thinking about Krishna. That is aligning with his interest. If you have identical interest with Krishna. And Krishna has promised, Aham Tvam Sava Papebhyo Moksha Isami Masucha. Do not be worried. But we are in devotional service and we are worried. So what to do or who to blame? We're in devotional service, we are not happy. But he said in Gita 9:2, Susukam Kartum Avyayam, it is joyfully performed. It is joyfully performed. So when we are not joyful, we should take time and think and introspect. That's why the medical approach of examine, diagnose, and prescribe. By regularly perusing and associating with the scripture and associating with devotees and practice of Krishna consciousness, we will get the therapy. Once we apply the therapy, all those ambiguities, they will disappear. Obviously, they will disappear. So this is my personal understanding of this text. This is what I am prescribing for myself. And this is also what I'm suggesting for those who want to take advantage of this. That the material energy, the Mahatattva, is God, she call it God's cohesive energy. Cohesive. You know what cohesion means? Cohesive. We have to headlong deal with it. But then it says it will give you compression, suppression, oppression. You will never smile in this kind of situation. But easy way out. Just take shelter and surrender to Krishna. The lotus seat of the devotee of Krishna, which Prabhupada came. Prabhupada has given us everything. Prabhupada gave us everything practically. All you need to be free from the influence or the clutches of Mahatattva. Prabhupada gave us everything. But then it depends on us. Depends on us. So Narottam Das said, I have knowingly drank poison. Having taken this human body, I failed to serve Radha and Krishna. So our non-compliance approach and attitude is actually we call killer of the soul. We are killing ourselves, but we think we are doing anybody. So it is high time we change our consciousness and our approach to things, and we see that what we are seeing as being for the stagnant atmosphere in the devotional environment, it will immediately revive. Immediately to revive. Because this situation is created by Krishna himself. Krishna is creating this to see those who can take advantage of it and correct their way. Krishna is waiting. Krishna says, you take one step to me, I take 10 steps. Once we're able to adjust our paradigm, then Krishna will give the other paradigm and we'll be blissful in Krishna consciousness. There's no better life to live than to practice Krishna consciousness. And Krishna consciousness cannot be practiced without the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master. So this is what I can share for now. Because time is fast spent, I will only make references to people who did this in the past. Arjun was in a state of melancholy. Arjun. He approached Krishna. He got himself sorted out. Parikshit was also in the same dilemma being caused by a Brahmana. He took shelter of Krishna. He had sufficiently submitted himself that by the time the Tataksha bird that would bite his body came, he has already gone out of the body. The bite of the Tataksha bird only acted like a catalyst to dissolve the body. That's why Parikshit was long gone. So Sati, the wife of Lord Shiva, exemplified the same thing. When she got really upset with the father, he didn't see the father as the man. He just said, this material body that I have, that is my problem. And she applied the same approach that the Prasad is guided to. And she gave up the body. So there are a lot of examples that we can go on and on and on and on to mention. But it's not just to hear. We should not just be hearers. We should be doers. And we may not be able to do so much. The little we can do would save us from this precarious situation. That's why Krishna said, Nehabi Karmana Susi, Pratabya Yona Vidyati, Swama Piasya Damasya, Tayato Mahatobaya. So in this endeavor, there's no loss, no diminution. Whatever little advancement one makes will protect him from the most dangerous kind of fear. Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for being there. Thank you very much for your blessings and inspiration. In case there are questions, answers, or corrections over and above all, some chastisement, that will make it a perfect gathering. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Sri Ganga Prasad Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. I personally appreciate your classes so much because every time you speak, you create lots of questions. And that gives me the opportunity to ask lots of questions. But before I ask, I'm going to ask you the devotees. If anyone has any question, you may raise up your hand and then go ahead and ask your question. I'll start by my last question I have here. I have a couple of questions. The last one, you said that as living entities, when we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps toward us. Now, my question is, what is the distance between this Earth Planet and Krishna Loka? Because Krishna took just 2 steps. When he met Bali Maharaj, Krishna took just 2 steps, and with those 2 steps, he covered the entire material planet. The 3rd step, he had no place to place his foot. He had to place it on the head of Bali Maharaj. So, does that mean that as much as we try to serve Krishna, we haven't really taken any step towards Krishna at all? And if we've taken step towards Krishna, why is it that Krishna hasn't gotten to us yet? Because if I took one step,
I didn't get the last portion. Why is it that Krishna?
No, my question is, if I take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 towards me, to meet me, to take me back home. Now, I do not know about myself, but what I'm trying to say is, I believe that I've been trying to take some steps towards Krishna. And if for all these years, consciously trying to take steps towards Krishna, Krishna hasn't met me halfway yet, then it means that either I have not taken steps towards Krishna at all, or Krishna at this point has gone against his own promise that when you take one step towards me, I'm going to take 10 towards you. Because I haven't met Krishna halfway. I'm still in here sinking. Oh my goodness. Please help me.
Wonderful, wonderful comment, wonderful question, very relevant. And when you ask questions sometimes, you make me see your level of humility actually. And the reality is, I will just give you 3 instances for you to reflect on. The first thing is that you have taken steps to Krishna. Or maybe the perception or perspective of your perspective of Krishna's reciprocation is to what you have not been able to define. But I'll tell you very clearly, Prabhu, this service you are doing of moderation, is it by your personal capacity and strength, it is one of Krishna's reciprocation towards you because you made yourself available and Krishna offered you, and you are doing this very wonderfully. That is one. Krishna is reciprocating. It may not be to the degree that you want, but Krishna is doing, I can tell you that. And also, by the dint of your vocation, you are working in the medical field. It's not that you are doing 24-hour devotional service, okay? But it's recommended that we cannot do without maintaining the body. You are spending time to maintain the body. But you can imagine you, in course of your work, you have to go and hide somewhere to hear SRIMAD Bhagavatam. If Krishna did not approve, you cannot have such facility. Because it says in the heart. And from the heart, it gives remembrance and forgetfulness. If Krishna has given you forgetfulness, you will not be doing what you are doing. And lastly, I'll end with what Krishna told us sometime in Benin. Krishna said, if Krishna open your eyes to see the volume of confrontation you get every day, the level of confrontation you get every day, he said you will pass out. Why will you pass out? By your own understanding, you'll be thinking, how will I deal with this? Lord Krishna is dealing with all of them without a hair of your body pulling out, or even without your eye blinking. Krishna is doing. So Krishna may not have met you as you want because you have a bounty to live for a particular number of years in this body. So it is at the time of leaving this body that you can actually make statement that is like this, but I don't see you being in position to make such a statement because Krishna will definitely meet you at that point. And the example of Bali Maharaj that you gave, he reciprocates with the sloka, Ye Yataman Propadi and Tetam Satai Pajamyaham. Krishna will take the 10 steps because ultimately the 10 steps is to take you back to his association. But Krishna can achieve that even in one strike. Okay? But it was the enactment of that sin, like a script, theatrical act, that he asked Bali for 3 steps, and he wants to prove to him that your promise cannot fulfill 3 steps. So that is past time. It's not that it has to do with the 10 steps. And even in the 3 steps, Krishna fulfilled the 10 steps. How? When he put the 3rd step on his head, he sent him down to Sutala. But in sending him to Sutala, Krishna went to Sutala, and till now, Upendra is still with Bali as his gate man. Will we, at the point of Bali being helpless, we'll say, oh, he has not given the 10 steps. He has not met him anywhere. But he is on course. Krishna is always on course. His speed and reciprocation may not be comprehensible by our intellectual capacity. I don't know if this shed any light on your statement and question.
Well, thank you so much. You've helped me understand how Krishna is already taking steps towards me in so many ways. But if we are allowed to be greedy, then I may ask Krishna that he should please do more. I'll ask him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being greedy.
No, it's allowed.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Spiritual lover, welcome.
Okay.
Spiritual life is approved.
The spiritual greediness is allowed. Thank you. Anyone else with questions, comment, realization? Say, Prabhuji, Vidura, he taught Dhritarashtra to practice this Ashtanga Yoga. Now, I may be wrong, but I believe that Vidura himself was a Bhakti Yogi. So if Vidura was a Bhakti Yogi, why would he teach Dhritarashtra to practice Ashtanga Yoga? when he himself practiced Bhakti Yoga. And if that is the case, will that mean that as Bhakti Yoga practitioners, depending on whom we're speaking to, we can recommend different people to practice different yogas other than Bhakti Yoga?
Prabhu, your question is very, very relevant. Thank you very much. This is part of my recent realization. You know, we've done management of devotees for many years, and we did more damage to devotees than help them. I'm speaking about myself, not generally. But in my present situation, I came to realize, and I saw that in the pages of the scripture, two texts of Bhagavad-Gita. The first one is Bhagavad-Gita 140. 140, Prabhupada said, the text translation is, when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of man become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descent of comes unwanted progeny. Degradation. Take degradation and apply it to Dhritarashtra. So, is it to condemn him outrightly or find a meeting point where it can be helped and be useful? So, in the purport, Prabhupada said, good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. So our main target is not to send people back to Godhead in the now, but at least by counsel, by supervision, by guidance, we can create good population in society. And when that is there, we can have peace, we can have prosperity. Like in the case of Dhritarashtra, you can be rest assured. Vidura taking away Dhritarashtra may not have been spoken, but he created an enabling environment for Yudhishthira to run his kingdom smoothly. That is peace. I don't know if it's making sense. But in the furtherance of the purport, Prabhupada said, therefore, both children and women require protection by the elder members of the family. Okay? Protection is another facility we give. Instead of just talking of pure love of Godhead and prema, protect them. How do you protect them? He said, by being engaged in various religious practices. That's the word. Various religious practices. And that is what Vidura is applying here. According to time, place, and circumstance, religious practices, because it's only by spiritual practices that we can straighten society and straighten people. This is one reference. Second reference is in Bhagavad-Gita chapter 3, text 27. Is it 27? No, 21, sorry. 3:21. He says, Yadyat acharati stresa tatat evataro janam. Jana. Sayam paraman kurute lokastat anuvantate. People in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. Vidura is practical here. He's not creating a like of himself, but he's on course. A leader cannot teach the public to stop smoking if himself smokes. Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. One who teaches in that way is called Acharya, which Vidura is, or ideal teacher. Therefore, a teacher must follow the principles of Shastra, scripture, to teach common men, scriptural injunction. So we said here, engaging them in various religious practices. That is what the scripture recommends. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that the king, executive head of state, the father, and school teachers are all considered to be natural leaders. These are instruments or agencies of God. Okay? And he went further in the conclusion. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents Therefore, they must be conversant with the standard books and moral spiritual codes. It is only when they are conversant themselves, then they will now know how to apply it. Vidura is one of the Mahajans. He's conversant with scriptural codes, and so he cannot be faulted that he gave what was required, which himself uttered. He said he would have given more, but this is what the circumstance required. So why I gave the example that this is my present realization. I've seen that in being judgmental or picky about people's practice, we don't help them. But that very word, engagement. Engagement is one thing that has struck me very strongly now. And I'm believing that with all the devotees' blessings and Krishna's blessing and Guru's blessing, we can progress with this path. Okay? You are a householder, and you can very honestly say, what is the level of response of your family, your children, and your wife compared to your own mood for practicing Krishna consciousness? If you are very fanatical, you condemn them. You take them for good for nothing. But there's something that they are doing that is very, very beneficial for them. So instead of capitalizing on their shortcomings, if we try to engage them, we'll see that we bring out a better portion of them and we'll all be happy. So I said my present experience, I came back with heavy near-death experience, and I see that it's just that I have a second chance. Otherwise, I'm as good as gone. And when I look at the family situation and the responsibility of preaching, I saw, wow, there's a lot to do. But the immediate constituency that I'm in, my family is the first disciples that I have, and they are the first devotees that I have to engage. So when I see their shortcomings and all of this, I get very disturbed, very, very disturbed. But somehow I got inspired from the heart that I just said, please let us do this one thing. So much of these facilities, even including location, Krishna has given us. But effortlessly, we can do something and we'll all be happy. So I said in the month, because we are more like a working environment. My wife has to go about her own business. My son is doing IT, he has to go to work. The other one is learning some skill, he has to go to work, he's waiting for admission. The other younger one is in the boarding house. I just felt, please, every morning, let us go outside there, not far. Just pick our things from the temple preaching center, go outside on the highway, close to the highway, set up a Sankirtan thing, and do Harinam for between 30 to 45 minutes where people are crossing, and then give up. We started this, and I am actually very blissful, and it increases my appreciation for them. They are also happy. So this is what I feel will be very, very useful for all of us, and then we'll be able to break more grounds. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Shri Ganga Prasad Prabhu. You wouldn't believe this, but look, your Harinams have touched my wife so much. She was actually scolding me. Why can't we do what Prabhuji and the family are doing? We have Medanga, we have Karatas here, we can also go out. So we'll see, it's an encouragement. Thank you for doing what you're doing, because you never know who is watching and trying to take inspiration from your activities. Thank you very much. Shri Hari Chakra Prabhu, please unmute and then go ahead with whatever you have to say.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Dandava Pranam, all of you. Oh. I was relishing this class so much, so absorbed in relishing this until Ganga Prabhu made the quote where Arjun was telling Krishna about how when um, the women in society get corrupted, then there will be the rise of unwanted progeny, and they're going to cause the degradation of society.
Mhm.
So Arjuna's philosophy sounded so nice. I mean, whoever reads that philosophy that Arjuna was pouring to Krishna, it sounds so good. Yet after everything, Krishna told him, you are sounding like an intelligent man, but you are fool number one. So you have to go ahead and do your duty. So my question is, can Ganga Prabhu please dispel my ignorance for me? Help me dispel my ignorance. That what actually does it mean? Does that mean that I mean, what you said, you quoted, and the way you said it, I mean, you analyze it by your personal realization. It sounds so good to the ear. So how do I personally try to what is the word to use? Try to apply it in the way Krishna was also telling Arjuna that he's being stupid for pouring out all those philosophy, but refusing to do what Krishna is asking him to do. Do you get my question?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
All
Very
right.
exciting question and relevant also. Thank you for asking such a double question. In terms of philosophy and application of philosophy, those are the two dichotomy of your question. The philosophical side is that Arjuna is also sound philosophically, and Krishna is philosophically personified. But they were speaking from two different schools of thought. Arjuna was versed in Dharma Shastra. Not Dharma Shastra. There's a particular Shastra Arjuna was speaking from, and Krishna was telling him about Dharma. Okay? So
Okay.
the polarity is different, but their intention is almost same because they think about welfare. And that's why I made reference. I didn't make reference of this text because of the context itself, but the purport that Prabhupada gave. And that is why I mentioned about protection and engagement. That's actually why I use that. And I also shared my personal experience in that capacity. And ours will be relevant and it will align with Krishna's interest, especially this time that we are in. I read in one purport of Prabhupada. Prabhupada said that Harinam is the prescribed delight of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada said it has to be done with all diligence. It has to be done with all diligence. And you know, how much can we do? Prabhupada said your work and your 1 minute preaching do. Just hand the book to them. Then the mystery of Krishna consciousness will start. So in the same vein, we can speak very well, like Arjuna was speaking. And Krishna's intention is what Krishna wants. What Krishna wants is what Mahaprabhu said, that in every town and village, his name will be sung. So the Maha Mantra is a way to engage our family. Many of us in our household life, we actually bamboozled with the pressure of Kali Yuga. More than us is our children. And our children require a lot of empathy from us. Why? In our own days, we didn't have any challenge with cell phone. We didn't know anything about social media network. We didn't have any challenge with cable television. I used to tell my kids, I can't even remember sitting in the same place with my daddy to watch television. It never happened. So that was our upbringing. But now, what are we facing? We wake in the morning, we are checking WhatsApp, Facebook, and social media. The children are also facing the same thing. So who helps who? We're all in it. But this is the time, and the children are living and growing with it. So what do? Let us leave the problem aspect. Let us take the practical scriptural aspect. I'll give you this example because I have some kind of internal guidance. There was a time when I was like incarcerated, excommunicated from the devotee community, and I was not happy. I was upset. So it was like to be or not to be. But I was just going on in my solo way, but I wasn't really helping the kids. But one day I woke up and I introduced the worship of Tulsi Maharani in the house. Please let us all every day try to worship Tulsi, circumambulate Tulsi, and pour water on Tulsi. We started with that engagement. From that, we started doing other programs, reading, sharing together. And finally, Kavi Kanapu Prabhu, I owe my life to him for this. He came to visit me, and when he came, he took Vijay along with him back to Lagos. That was the breaking of the ice. He took my eldest son to the temple in Lagos, and the other younger ones were also enthusiastic. Oh, we also want to go like Vijay. So as soon as Vijay came back, they also scheduled, all of them, they went to the temple. By that going to temple, you won't believe, they learned how to play karatas, they learned how to play mridanga, they learned how to sing. So just from us unanimously agreeing to do one devotional thing. So that is what I would tell you, that it doesn't have to be starting big, like Kavichandra Maharaj will always say. Start small. It will expand into bigger concepts. So Arjun had point philosophically, but what Krishna was making him know is that it is better to act based on the dictates of the Lord, which is these miscreants, they have already been killed. I just want to glorify you. So do my bidding. And you can see in the purport we read, Prabhupada said, being surcharged with the spiritual current of the Lord's identical interest. This word is important. Identical interest. That's what Krishna was soliciting from Arjun. Not that Arjun was bogus or speaking heresy. But Krishna is demanding aligning with my interests. So that is how we can also function. Let us see how, in what way we can align our interests with Krishna's interests. Mahaprabhu said, Yare deka tareka ha Krishna Upadesh. And we met in one meeting recently, and we're brainstorming on how to increase book distribution. And Bhakti Damodar Maharaj gave her one simple process. Yare deka tareka, wherever you go, whosoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. And he said, take only 5 books at every outing. Ensure that you hand over those 5 books before coming back. That way, if every day you take 5, at the end of the month, you have 150 books out. And if everybody does that, automatically our books will increase. And similarly, here, we're doing the same. We just go out on that Harinam and we station one person. Anybody crossing that is receptive, give them 1 book. And at the end of the month, we see that we have passed out so many books. So, Prabhuji, it is not about being loud or self-praising, but it's your practical application, what can benefit us. So you know your niche, you know your circumstance, and you know what can be best. Even if it's sitting together with all the family and make japa, even if it's 4 rounds of japa, compulsory to help. Bhakti Damodar taught me, he said, don't go walk in the altar without chanting 4 rounds. And I'm trying to do that very seriously. Before I walk into the altar, I chant 4 rounds. And I share the same with my family that before you do anything, chant 4 rounds. So we can start from anywhere. I don't know if that throws any or sheds any light on your quest, and if it has helped you in any way.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You've graciously dispelled my ignorance. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Now Now you have brought back my enlivening in the beginning of the lecture. All the enlivening that was going on in my heart, you have rekindled it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyone else with any question? Any comment?
Chastisements also.
Nobody wants to go to hell, Prabhuji. Well, it seems the devotees are pretty much quiet today. Prabhuji, I have one more question. And my question is, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the main reasons Lord Krishna follows the 11th entity within the heart region is to observe whatever the 11th entity is doing. It's described that the super soul and the 11th entity are like two birds on a tree. One is eating the fruit of the tree, and one is just sitting, watching, observing. So the individual Jiva Atma is engaging in so many activities, and the super soul is there watching. So if the super soul is there watching, what is the super soul watching in 11 entities body of a tree? You know, trees are 11 entities, so the super soul must be there. And if the super soul is in the tree, what is the super soul observing? Because the tree is not doing anything to warrant any karmic reaction. That's my question. That's a silly question.
Very intelligent. Technical and intelligent. All right. In Bhagavad-Gita,
I'm sorry.
Chapter 13, text 23, nature, enjoyer, and consciousness. He said the super soul is not enjoying, it's just watching. But here it says, yet in the body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer. That's the word used there. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer. So he's also enjoying something. But his enjoyment is not like our enjoyment. And he called that transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter. He's enjoying overseeing, he's enjoying permitting, okay, and who is known as the super soul.
Yeah.
This is Bhagavad-Gita 13, 23. He call him Upadristam Omanracha, Bata Bota Maheshwara, Paramantas Chapyoto, the Hesmin, Purusha Para. Purusha Para, the supreme transcendental enjoyer. So he's also enjoying, not only just following us and watching, he's enjoying it. After all, what he calls here, Karya Srishti. Karya Srishti is the creative potency of the Lord, the creative lila of the Lord. The Lord enjoys creating. And so every aspect of this creation, he enjoys it. It doesn't make any sense or it's nonsense.
Ah, my God, right on point. You must be a very good argumentator. Well, there is going to be a very transcendental argument coming up very shortly. As some of those reasons in the purport Prabhupada gave, but I deliberately stayed away from it because the right time is about to appear very soon. Shri Govinda Prabhu, you have a question? Hare Krishna, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, devotees, please accept my respectful obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to Gurudev, all glories to you all.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, my question is that of the dissolution of this universe and the next creation, where we, after this Kali Yuga, we expect Satya Yuga. And Srimad Bhagavatam describes systematically how this material world is going to be destroyed. And after the destruction, there will be a new creation, which will be in the Satya Yoga. Now, we can see practically that in Kali Yuga, which is the age of godliness, some few people are trying to serve God, so to speak, in their own way. Jaya Damodara Maharaj was asked some time ago a question from one devotee in Ghana, that the Christians who don't know Krishna, they think that they are serving him in their own way, and sincerely they are trying to serve him. What will be their destination? And Maharaj simply answered by questioning this devotee that, are they observing Ekadasis? So this answers all. They are not observing Ekadasis, so where are they going? And so this is the proof that except devotees who are actually trying to observe all the rules and regulations, people are trying to serve God, but actually they are not going anywhere. And this brings to the fact that the people in Kali Yoga have nowhere to go till the time of destruction. Now, at the point of destruction, everything will be destroyed and the living entities will have to merge into the body of Lord Vishnu. And the next creation will be, which will be the Satya Yoga. This is my question. Are these living entities going to come back from the body of Vishnu and occupy their positions as they left? And if so, then how can we say that the Satya Yoga will be the yoga of godliness, the age of pure goodness? If you look at the consciousness of the people in Kali Yoga, and these same people are coming in Satya Yoga, how can we consider that age to be a pure goodness age? So are they going to come? These people, souls in Kali Yoga, are they going to come in Satya Yoga, or they will wait until Kali Yoga again before they will be reborn?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very technical and insightful question. My understanding of the question is two-sided. The first side of it is from the purport of Prabhupada to the heart, that is the center of Bhagavad-Gita. If you are having a football pitch, the center of the football pitch where they pass ball is Bhagavad-Gita chapter 10, 8 to 11. And the purport of text number 10, Prabhupada explained towards the ending of the purport. The translation is that those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. That is a special gift and prerogative of God. So in the purport towards the end, in the last sentence of the purport, Prabhupada said, If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activity of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain him. That is unmerited divine mercy of God. And if this mercy is there, we cannot rule out that some people who have this kind of grace cannot come in Satya Yoga. It's possible. Okay? That is one point. The second point is that the transitional process, just like you said about Mahatattva, okay? All the universe remain for 1,000 years floating on the causal ocean. They can stay away in the body of Gabodaka Vishnu for as long as is required. There is no hurry, there is no tension, there is no pressure. They wait as long as it's required, and they will be made to enter into particular womb, particular body at the particular time that their karma requires for them. So some may come in Satya Yuga by its extraordinary grace, and some may come in Kali Yuga. But even if people come in Kali Yuga, I can see every age has the same four segments. You have Satya Satya, you have Tretya Satya, you have Dwaipa Satya, and you have Kali Satya. In the beginning of Satya Yuga, there is no sin at all. Pure, complete pureness. But slowly things started deteriorating until sin crept in. The moment sin crept in, the age has to change. That is Kali Satya, to change. The same thing applies with Treta. The same thing applies in Kali. Kali Yuga, we are saying now we are in Satya Kali. The golden era of Kali Yuga is where we are now. So those who have special grace also, they can come in Satya Kali, not in Kali Kali, where people live only 30 years and they are not taller than 3 feet and they eat each other. Okay? So people are placed in they are submerged back in the body of Gabodaka Vishnu, and at the appropriate time, when their piety or their karma requires, they will push into society. It's not like an automated thing that once the age changes, then the same people who wound up will come automatically. No, not like that.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Perfect question, perfect answer.
yeah, Prabhu, this answers the question. Thank you very much. And there is other side of this question. We know all the demons that were killed by Krishna attained liberation. And why? Because they were simply touched by Krishna. So anything that goes into fire, that thing tends to fire, if that fire is powerful enough. So I'm wondering if these living entities merge into the body of Vishnu, why are they still carrying their karma since they are merged into that fire?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. I like the questions, and they're very thought-provoking. Yes, Mahavishnu have capacity that, or Krishna has capacity that from him. That's why it's called Ishwara Param Krishna. Is the cause of all causes. In his causing, he can cause that those who come to him, they will be completely purified. But prerogative is his. He has a decision. I don't decide for him, you don't decide for him. He knows. He knows what he wants to do. It's just like when the Bible says, "For I know the thought I have for you, thought of good, not evil." Even in his reserving his mercy, it is still good. So those demons who he gives liberation, the liberation is not tantamount for all that they develop prema. Some of them just merge in his Brahmajyoti. They remain there. Brahmajyoti is transient because it has beginning and end. Those who go to Brahmajyoti, they still fall back into the material world. It's not that that is the end of the matter. So absorbing all these living entities at the end of the Pralaya, they stay there. It's like a storage facility, like you have pen drive with the storage capacity, whatever capacity is. The body of Gabodakasha Vishnu is also a storage facility for all kinds of entities. And so when it's time, it's like you have information in your pen drive. If it is not time, you don't go and assess it. But when the appropriate time comes, you assess it and you get what you want from it. So the same thing applies. So it's not that because they have entered the body of Gabodakasha and Vishnu, so automatically they will be annulled, all their sins will be annulled. For some years, but the intention is to give them accommodation until when the tenure of their continuation, because this material world is running based on the desire of the living entity. Without desire, there's no material world. So as long as they still have that desire, they are stocked like seed. And when the time is due, they will be pushed out to go and enact that desire so that the material creation will continue.
Yeah, Prabhu, you try to explain, but I'm still having difficulty there. You know, we know in various times and various circumstances where the living entities that are not pious became pious just by the touch of the Lord's body or by the Lord's holy name. Because Krishna and his holy name are identical. So if someone hears the holy names of Krishna, you know, the person may not have that desire, loving desire to hear the name. He may even hear the name and get angry, but the name still works on that person, right? So just like the fire burning, if you anything that goes through that fire, that can get into ashes. So this is a very serious question. That the living entity goes into the body of Vishnu with their desires. Yes, we know that. But the desires are created due to ignorance, due to offenses. The offenses generate or give birth to these numerous desires. And these desires come, the offenses come because we are not in touch with the Lord. We are not purified. We are contaminated. And so this contamination gives birth to all varieties of things that are separated us from the Lord. Now, these same living entities, the Supreme Lord and his name that are identical, the name works miraculously to people who are even unbelievers. Now, the living entities get in touch with this same Lord, whose name can counteract or can solve all problems in life. They get into their body, the Lord's body. How can they still have all the same desires that they have to come back and then enact it?
Well, your statement have it has accommodation in some school of thought. But what the scriptures tell us, Prabhupada in Bhagavad-Gita 15:7. 15:7 say, Mama evam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Manasastrani indriyani praktistani kasyati. The living entity in conditioned world are my eternal fragmental palm. Due to conditioned life, that's the word. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind. This struggle is there due to contamination of material world. And that contamination is not because of deviation. Prabhupada said in the purport here, by misuse of, it started by saying that every living entity has the same traits or quality of the Supreme Personality to a very minute degree. And use the word that God has the nature of independence. And we also have independence. It's not an offense to be independent. We have that independence. But what Prabhupada said here, as fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the living entities also have fragmental portion of the qualities of the Lord. Bhagavad-Gita 7:15-7 purport. We also have quality which is independent. Every living entity as an individual soul has a personal individuality and minute form of independence. Okay? So it is not offense, it is use of our independence. But Prabhupada says in the purport, by misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul. So it is misuse of independence. And by proper use of the independence, he is always liberated. So as long as the proclivity or tendency of misuse of independence is still there, will be housed in Gabodakasa Vishnu storage, and then will be brought out again to experience that use of independence. Okay, this is preset. It's a natural law. Okay, I just want to add something. When I was answering Prabhu Chakra, he said about the philosophy that Arjun was presenting, and he escaped my memory at that time. Arjun was speaking based on Atta Shastra, and Krishna was speaking based on Dharma Shastra. Atta Shastra is the material religiosity, Atta Dharma Kama Moksha. Material religiosity for Purusha Attas. So it's Atta Shastra that Arjun was quoting, which is for material well-being. But Krishna is not talking about material. Krishna is talking about eternal duty. It's about Pulsa Paro Dharma, Yato Bhakta Adoksaja, the eternal supreme occupation of all living entities. So this is not related to your own question, but I just remember that I actually straightened that. So in the end, it is on use of independence, not offenses. Offense is additional. But the first thing is, it is our intrinsic nature and quality of God that we have inherent in us. By using it, we can condition ourselves. Once we are conditioned, yes, we can be absorbed in the body of Gabodakasa Vishnu until we are able to learn and straighten that understanding and align our independence with the interests of the Lord. Okay? Our independence is to serve the Lord. That's the proper use of our independence. Anything contrary to that will be entangling. So that's the answer I can give to that. You are right in your postulation. This is what the scripture says.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the answers. And to all the devotees, thank you for your patience and being here. Without any further questions, I think we'll bring the class to a close today. Except if someone else has something to say. Gita Govinda Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Are you still there? Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Well, at this point, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and then we chant to make Hare Krishna to express our appreciation to our speaker for being here and enlightening us. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama
Yadivo, Vachakapataramita, Pasundari Vacha. Etana, Pavanajo, Vaishnavyo, Namo
Vaishnavyo
Namaha.
Namo Namo Hare Krishna.
Ganga Prasad Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
SRIMAD Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Sama
Vaishnava
Veda.
Thakur ki Jai.
Jai.